Hey, muy buenas noches to everyone. I hope everybody's doing well and as always enjoying family. Also, thank you again, Tony, for allowing me to get on here and share my stories. Now, here's another short little one. Now, for this is mainly an answer to a comment somebody did or asked me. You know, if I knew or heard about Pelon from El Monte, Jimmy, Primo, and that little incident that happened, or not little, excuse me, but that big old incident or mistake that they did up in El Monte. So to be honest with everyone, I never had no run-ins with Pelon. As everyone knows, I don't even think he was starting to get comfortable with being a carnal when he was already in bad standings. But anyways, for this I'm gonna take you back to where I was still on 4A, 4 left on AR Corcoran shoe. When I got there, there was a lot of camaradas that were still there, that were already there, excuse me. And one of them was this vato named Pepe from Sangra. And he was celled up with another homie from Brad's. Now, I went out to medical or to the dentist. It was one of those two that I went out, and I ran across another camarada from SGV. To be exact, he was from Lomas. Now, while I was in the cages there conversating with him, he actually asked me, hey, is there this vato by the name of Pepe or Mad Dog from Sangra there with you? So I told him, yeah, I actually, I already okayed him. I checked his paperwork, same name, placazo, clica, todo to be yard, and came back, okay. So this vato from Lomas, he actually started pressing the issue, like, nah, Charles, this vato, he was involved in that homicide or that massacre that happened in El Monte, where they killed those kids and that family, and you know, they actually two of his co-defendants, one locked it up, the other one got killed, and supposedly the Pili that called it, you know, he ran. Now, mind you, this was actually the first time that I had heard about this, you know. So, of course, I went back and I told him I was going to look into it. So I went back and I took the proper steps on checking on this. Now, I never been a dummy, so I knew if I send his info, to be checked on B yard and it came back cool, then I knew there was a little favoritism there or there was something there. So I knew I was to be, I was to be careful because I don't want to press on something that at the end of the day, it has more value than actually me, just keeping it sincere. So you always have to be careful with all this. Now, the reason that I tell this story, because man, I despise, that's one thing that I could sincerely say. I despise, all that negativity, but those people that mess with kids, that's something that, man, I could feel it to my bone, that really, that I hate. And I'm speaking to you guys about this because this was actually one case that I was willing to throw everything away, you know, to go against everything and just take care of business. I knew what I was gonna have coming if he was being shielded one by one of them vatos, or a señor. So, anyways, I went back out and I started asking the proper questions. I knew not to do it there in Corcoran. I had to go outside of Corcoran and ask so that I could pick up a little more of information on this. Now it came back to me that, yeah, that all them bottles were in the hat, and if I ever ran across one, that it was on go. It don't matter what anybody says, just handle your business. And I actually mentioned at this time I was still in touch with Raul, so this is the person I'm conversating with about this. So, like I stated, I had love for this man. I had trust, so I was able to openly conversate with him. And I mentioned to him that I had run the maid and that it had came back, that it was okay, that he was cool. Now, mind you, it had already been 2, 3 months going out to the yard with this individual, exercising. I didn't know, so sincerely after workout, everything, we chopped it up and he, and it was just like after I started doing all this, it was every time I went out there, it was like, damn, I really, I really, it took everything of my person not to do something. So, anyways, I told R that if he could run that name and his placazo and verify with me if he was there that night. Now it took a while, as everything did at this time, and he he got back at me and he told me that, yeah, he was actually, he was in the car that night. That's why he was busted. Now he straight up told me like, look, this is something that you have to approach it with caution. You have to be real careful when you approach this, because he's actually being protected, from two individuals. One is his homeboy Stomp that feels he shouldn't be put on the list because XX thing, but in reality, it's because this fool Pepe's family out there has the plug, and they're giving benefits to Stomp as well as Stomp's uncle NSD, which was Silent George. So they're actually putting that chill on him. Also, due to all these battles locking it up and one got taken care of, you know, Widow Shy, he wants this swept up and not talked about no more. So, you know, if you press this issue, you're gonna lift eyebrows that you shouldn't towards you. So now by him telling me this, I already knew, that I had to make a decision what to do. The one thing I knew I couldn't do was you know, keep being there with the individual. I just couldn't set myself to be like, it's if they could look away for their benefit, I ain't benefiting anything, but I am messing my head up, just walking around and knowing he was there that night. And they could tell you everything went down one way, but in reality, we weren't there. I wasn't, so how do you know that he really wasn't in that house? Now let's remember, everyone in that house actually got killed. So the only story you're hearing is from these vatos that checked in. Now remember, Pelon wasn't there. So you're hearing the story from Primo. Character was gone. So how do you know Primo ain't showing his homeboy some love when he had already decided to check in? So I'm gonna go ahead and, keep him out, or at least minimize his role in everything. It's just the way the things that were going through my head. At the end of the day, I wasn't there. He was. This happened. He knows this happened, and if he felt he didn't do nothing wrong, there was no need for him to basically be paying these guys, like George and Stomp, and who knows who else was getting a piece of that. Because for me to actually send all this to to Artie and them on B yard and coming back okay, somebody else was getting a piece of it. But I'm not sure of this, so I'm not gonna state it or put it out there. The ones I knew that were was Stomp and George. So at this time, I had already told R, you know what, F this, I'm gonna deal with it. If they decide to take my career for this, and I dispense them. At this time, I was still one of those knuckleheads that I said I'm at least not gonna go out like this. I'm gonna take care of business, and I'm gonna come out to yard, take care of business, or allow the camaradas to do their thing. And of course, I'm not gonna be a sitting duck. And it's a shame. But yeah, those were the thoughts happening through my head, and I had already confined in R about why my feelings towards all these individuals. It's man, I just had female cousins, and they when they were kids, they actually. Well, I'm not gonna put their thing out there. I'm just gonna say, I have family members that, as kids, they actually moved on because of this type of individuals. That don't have no type of man, just manhood, straight up. Because how can you wake up in the morning and look yourself or even think of yourself as anything when, man, it's kids. Kids, and they can't defend themselves. Game banging is what game banging is. Grown ass people going against each other. But anyways, it's just the way that I thought of things. So R was telling me, like, you know what? I know nothing I say is gonna stop you if you're gonna handle it. So anyways, this went on, and I started. I'll be sincere. I started pressing the issue on with the Pili on B yard, and I started telling him, like, look, this, and that started came up, and I want to know what's up, cause if this is true, then I want your permission for me to go ahead and move on him. Now, it was a little odd that the response actually took a while, you know, more than it usually did. But it got back, and he told me, Chales, you can't. And if you do, then you're going to be going against us. This vato, basically, he was trying to tell me, like, this vato didn't have nothing to do with it, and the part that he had in it, he's he's touching the right people with it, with something, and he's cool. So I left it at that. I had already made up my mind. If this answer came back, I was gonna do what I had to and let the chips fall where they were gonna fall. I think me too. I was that naive person. I could sit here and tell you about how they were getting favor, but in a way, I kind of knew that art was gonna actually speak up for me. So I guess we all go through that stage when we're there. And I'm not an exception. I was there and I went through all that thoughts that all camaradas go through. We're untouchable, that there's loyalty, that we actually have someone taking care of or that cares about us, that's gonna stick their hands in the fire for us. And I was going through all this too. At this time I was still full fledged with it. That at least and the outlook I had for myself. But at this moment, it didn't really matter. So I felt that my responsibility was just right by actually at yard speaking with the homie from Brad's, and that was Cicely, and just telling him, look, this is happening, and I'm not gonna ask you to put your career in the line or dirty your name with the senores, because it's unfair, and it is not the type of vato I am either. I know you got a date in a couple years. I'm a lifer, so what I'm gonna do is try to finesse it in there to make it look like something or something else. But I'm gonna move the vato in with me so that you're able to meet your date, and I could deal with this situation. And if something ricochets negative towards someone, it would be me. By this time, I had already been told, not to do anything, because for one, Stomp, Silent George, and per se, Wet or Shy was gonna have something against this action. So to not make this story very long, the camarada and I we're trying to get that bed move, but for some reason, it wasn't happening for one reason or another. And I just, I basically had told the camarada from bed, just hold tight. You're short to get out the shoe, and then you're short to go home. If I see that they actually you leave to the main line, then I'll tell them move me up there with homeboy, and you can have this cell. At that time I didn't have a celly, so it's gonna get done regardless. But what I seemed to ignore was that just because somebody's short timing it, and you know I ignored basically the camaradas from Brad's values, and he seen nothing was happening, and I guess he couldn't take it either. And one day, I just real early, man, right before even Gallo came around, the homie from Brad's, he started going to town. Now, Pepe or Mad Dog, he wasn't a big dude, but he was bigger than Homeboy. And he's been beat around the bush more than Homeboys from Brad's. I'll just put it like that. And then at the day, the one that got hurt the most was the homie from Brad's. Once the Judas came, Pepe was leaking, but he walked out. And the homie had to be pulled out in a stretcher. At this time, I was like, damn, I'm gonna get some backlash regardless. Now we're both messed up. Cause for one, the issue's gonna get pushed on me, saying that I went against what they told me not to do, and I put it on homie's ears, and I pumped them up to do it. Which that wasn't even the case. I was trying to look out for the best benefit of him, and I felt it was my responsibility to tell him, because as everybody knows, when you're in that cell, you start showing family pictures, or you might like a vato, and then you hook him up with a prima, or just little thing. I felt it was my responsibility to let him know, so he wouldn't get too familiar with him. And I just felt him finishing his shoe term and splitting. So this happened, man, and to my surprise, at least towards my end, nothing came back. But towards the homie from Brad's, yeah, it was basically a wrap. I remember he went to four left after he got out, and you know they moved on the group yard. Now I don't really know exactly where Mad Dog went after this, but here's the kicker: what actually got me mad. Even though nothing came towards my way, I kept asking, man. I wanted to know why. Why he was being allowed to walk amongst us. At this time, I was already upset because I had ran across a couple of them that are R's on his jacket, and you know they were being allowed. So basically, I was just I started asking questions at this point. And man, I came to find out that the homie from Brad's, he wasn't the only one they had washed up over this individual. You know, up in New Folsom, homie was walking the main line with the camaradas. Someone pressed the issue there on him. They moved on him. They had whacked him there, and Stomp or Silent George had greenlighted or took the Vato's career that had whacked him. I don't know. Somebody else in Sadef and New Folsom, in New Corcoran, excuse me, had same thing. Had hit him, and they took the Vato's career for dealing with it. You know. Now this is again. I might sound like a broken record, but this is for those young battles that are out there. This is the type of thing you're gonna run in prison. You're not gonna see loyalty. You're not even gonna see honor, because it's honorable, you know, to keep it straight. At least show the camaradas that respect. If we're on front line, we're receiving all the chingadazos that come towards the organization. You know, at least show us that respect. by not chilling those that shouldn't walk amongst us, by not hurting other camaradas, for taking care of business on those that as a whole it should be wrong for these vatos to be allowed to be around us. Not just because some individual is getting benefits from this cat, so he has that power to say chales. It ain't cool. Like, for example, from the gate there was favoritism in this. Because let's be sincere, you know as everybody knows, yeah, Pelon called this, but how long was he made? Now, as everybody should know, when you sponsor, you're on a probation trial, or run on probation or run. You know, everything's being looked on how you do things, how you wiggle, and if you do anything negative, it falls back on the padrino. It is why there ain't too many pilis that sponsor somebody, because they know something's gonna fall back. It's gonna fall back on them. Now, not only was Güero Shai his padrino, but he was also the one that called this hit. You know, and why didn't he get any type of backslash towards them about this incident? You know, why was he spared? See, those are exactly the type of things that they need to be more more against. Politic against that. Go to war with a canal over this, because I understand it ain't easy you know to knock a carnal. You can't make him step down. He has to get dealt with. But they made all these rules and regulations so perfect for them, to where a camarada can't dictate, can't say nothing. To where a camarada, if a pili lands somewhere and he's no good, and he's there and he's still claiming to be a pili, and he's not, but you can't go against him. You can't move against him, or that's your butt. See, those are the things that are wrong. Those are the things that camaradas should be able to do. Clean house, not just, okay, the organization is putting these rules and regulations out. Why? I go back to what I said episodes before. Fear. They know they're going to check in eventually. So what do? They put these rules so when they do, they still have that wiggle room to make some money, and not be able to get hit. It's just a bunch of BS. It's just my opinion. But again, if this would have been a different case, and it would have been a camarada that didn't have that, you know, those means to touch, la caja or certain pilis, he would have been get dealt with from the gate. Yet, Mad Dog had three righteous camaradas that were trying to maintain, you know, at least the Campolero side clean. They actually got thrown aside and they favored this individual. That later on, it all unfolded that, yeah, he was actually the one driving, you know, and it's just like a drive-by. There's two people in that car, the one shooting and the one driving. But if you're involved in a drive-by, you hit an innocent life. Both those cats hit jail or county jail. They're both gonna get whacked the same. So what made it different in this case? So to all those that are out there still like trying to or still thinking that, you know, there's any type of saltiness inside, man, man, think about, those people you grew up with, yourself, your loved ones. Those are the ones that are going to be loyal to you. But inside, I'm not going to put false information and tell you there ain't carnalismo or there ain't loyalty. Yeah, there is. But like I stated before, on every yard, at least that thinks like you, that values another individual like you, it's gonna be short. Two, three of them at the most. And you're gonna run across a bunch of heartaches. And I tell you from experience, man. When you go in thinking one thing and you're constantly seeing the opposite, it's just something you start saying like, man, why did I mess my life up for this? You know. But with this said, I'm not gonna take much of your time. I just thought I'd put this story out because of that comment or that question I got asked. I just thought I shared this experience with you guys. When it comes to killing innocent people or especially kids, I honestly prefer not even to talk about it. It actually it stings. It stings a lot. You know, because mainly, mainly, it ain't because of the police. It ain't how they shield them, and it ain't even about these other individuals. To be sincere, the reason it stings is how stupid I was. So that's the lesson I want to put out there to those. Learn from my stupidity. All this was happening around me. I was seeing all this, and I was so stupid and blind that I kept pushing forward and keep saying like, man, okay, there's one of a few. But when you start seeing constantly and constantly, and you're still thinking that there's gonna be better down the road, then I call it for what it is. I'm a pendejo, and I was a pendejo. I still am a pendejo. Keep making mistakes every day of my life, but to that extent, I try to be smarter. So that's why I ask, start valuing yourself. But with this said, it's late. Sorry I took much of your time. I just wanted to put this out there with you guys. I will continue off where I left off on Billiard, hopefully on my next episode. I just want to be able to touch on what I'm asked on the comments. And tomorrow, as a matter of fact, we're gonna try to do that. At least answer some questions if we can't go live. But with this said, muchas gracias for you guys' time. I appreciate every one of you guys' comment. And as always, value yourself and treasure your loved ones. Do things for those that are gonna actually appreciate it. They don't need to say thank you, but you know that an action you do for your family, for your loved ones, period, it's gonna be held with care and love. Not with when push comes to shove, you're not gonna be worth anything to. Again, everybody, value your family always, and always value yourself. Muy buenas noches.